I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the greatest threat to the Christian faith is drifting. That the greatest threat to the Christian faith is not the sudden attack and the assault of the enemy, but it's drifting. To drift means that something is moving gradually, steadily, consistently, to the point that you don't even notice. That typically is undetectable, untraceable. It's where you look up, you don't even notice that it's gone. You look up and you don't even notice that you have moved away from the things that once made you effective. It's drift. It's not the enemy breaking in and snatching you away. It's not the enemy breaking in and pulling you away. But the greatest thing that threatens us today is drift. If it had been a sudden attack of the enemy, I would have been prepared for that. We have been trained to be on the lookout for the attacks of the enemy and his plans and his plots. We have been trained to watch his devices because he creeps around like a roaring lion. So we know to lock our doors and lock our windows, and we put on our armor just like we are soldiers ready for a fight. But it's drift. For some of you that are watching me today, you have not noticed that I have moved at least 15 feet away from the podium. It wasn't all at once. It was drift. And this is the same way it happens with our faith, that sometimes we have moved away from the things that once had us anchored, that once we stood for, our standards that were high. And it wasn't something that happened over time. It wasn't something that happened overnight where you woke up one day and you didn't have faith. But the slow erosion of the things that you stood for began to endanger us, and we find ourselves moving away from the things that made us powerful. It's almost like the boiling frog theory. They tell me that if you take a frog and you throw him into hot boiling water, he'll leap out of it immediately because he's trying to get away from danger. But if you take the same frog and put him in tepid water and let his body adjust to the temperature, you can slowly heat up the water until a place of boil and boil the frog to death. And then the frog would never leap out of it because he has adjusted to the atmosphere that he has been acquainted with. And many people have become acquainted the situations that we once stood up against. You got to be careful, folk you hang around, the folk you deal with, because sometimes what God has called you to do is to be a change agent. But you can't be a change agent if you have adjusted to be okay with the stuff that you know you should not be okay with. You have to be careful of the people that you fellowship with, the people you hang around, the people that you share your secrets with, because sometimes we find ourselves, and somebody could come into the room and notice the atmosphere that's really strange because they're just walking into it. But sometimes when you've been in something for a long time, you will find that your attitude is different than it used to be. And it's not that you're a bad person, it's just that you have adjusted to the atmosphere. Some of you, God has put you on your job to be a change agent. He put you on that job to make a difference. He put you on that job because he needed a believer in that place. He needed somebody to be a person of prayer who would arrest the spirit of negativity. But instead of you arresting the spirit of negativity, you have let the atmosphere affect you instead of you affecting it. Oh, it's going to be all right. Just hold on just a minute. And you wonder why you can come in and be excited with natural excitement about the Lord and start hanging around certain people and find your faith waning. Is because instead of you trying to take it to another level, you have decided it's easier to go along, to get along, rather than be a change agent for the atmosphere. Is it possible that God has set you in that community, in that family, on that job, so that you will make a difference? It doesn't happen overnight. It happens gradually.